Emma Curtis Hopkins Saturday. I've decided to dedicate Saturdays to Emma Curtis Hopkins. We're going to do chapter 9 today. So then that means there's 3 more chapters, because there are 12 chapters. And then once I finish that, I'm going to go ahead and read High Mysticism, because she's such an amazing teacher and her work isn't that widely known. And yet she taught all of the teachers that we know, all of the teachers that have influenced us. And so I'm going to make an effort to get more of her work out there. But she does take an hour per chapter to read. So I'm going to do it on Saturdays when I have nothing else that I have to do. There's plenty of stuff that I can do, but nothing else that I have to do. So that's the plan here. So we are doing chapter 9 in Scientific Christian Mental Practice by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And the title of the chapter is Righteous Judgment, which, frankly, that term does generally make me tick a little bit. Because I think that word has been overused, abused, and definitely weaponized. So let's see if with Emma we can't take back that term, righteous judgment, into what it really means and not what it has come to mean. So, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Scientific Christian Mental Practice, Chapter 9, Righteous Judgment. It has always lain heavily on the mind of the race that holiness and health, sin and disease, bear a logical relation to each other. I have been young, and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their seed begging bread. Shows that not only health of the body, but health of affairs has been laid back to the doorway of righteousness. Envy is rottenness of the bones, says one. My words are life to them that find them, and health to all their flesh, says another, when speaking for the words of the Spirit in humanity. The sins of the fathers shall be visited upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation, said Moses. And Jesus said, no man is your father upon earth. Who then is visited by the sins of their parents? The Adam man. Who is it that shall have no consequence of sin visited upon them? The spiritual person. Did Jesus believe in sin? Which I think is a very relevant question. Neither hath this person sinned nor their parents. Did he often address himself to the moral person, just enough to make it nothing? Go and sin no more. He said to the man whose good sight sprang forth as a strong arm when the love of Jesus warmed it forth. He put away the fleshly appetites. He left the spirit free. He put denials and affirmations together for a right and left wing of the law of demonstration. It is often supposed that innocent young children are under the curse of their fathers and mothers' evil thoughts and character, and many have lain down under the burden of scofflaw and consumption because they thought it too heavy to carry if their parents had lain down under it. Many have lain down under bad disposition and kleptomania and intemperance because they believed their parents had left these things to them as their inheritance. What kind of God would visit its own people with such a law as that? Which is honestly the question that I have always asked, not the God that I believe in. What kind of God would visit their own people with such a law as that? Where have the followers of Jesus been tarrying that they have not risen out of thinking such things inevitable, with his commands ringing down through the written Gospels? Call no man your father. The flesh profiteth nothing. Follow me. Keep my sayings. What a strange imagination against the Lord of hosts to think that it sent our evil tendencies in the first place and the consequences of them in the second place. Where have we been lagging in the lesson of mind that we have overlooked Jeremiah's information that a person's word is their only burden? And the proclamation of Jesus that by our words we are justified and condemned. Could God, the principle of thought and speech, invest its people with a richer heritage than the power of the word? Is there anything more majestic than this great principle of every word being full of divine potency when true and gifted with only seeming greatness when false? Can a law be more stupendous than that a lie must seem to be reasonable in order to be anything at all? If there is no law of flesh, because there is no flesh, must not all we say of flesh seem to be true, or not give us any claim on itself? Would it make any difference to you if an insane person told you that your mother stole their watch when you know they never had one? And your mother is good and upright. But if a noble-looking, gentle person told you that a shabby person carried off their purse, you would believe them at once, whether they are lying or not, because their story seemed plausible. So, when great and learned preachers stand in high pulpits and talk about a great being called God, who made a terrible Satan to tempt good little children to steal and lie, we have felt that it seemed plausible. They were very wise indeed to describe the other side of such a God by saying that he sent his only son into a swarm of wicked men, who were none of his kind, though he had created them to be badly used by the only wicked creatures of his own hands. But the whole thing from beginning to end is false. God is the principle of holiness, goodness, and truth. Truth about God is expressing principle. Lies about God express the opposite of principle, thus the opposite of holiness and goodness. The experience of the mind of the race concerning holiness and sin has been that they have been indeed the creators of their own destiny by their imagination. Some of the very great lovers of God have been mighty living demonstrations of the power of words. One woman whose mind had become very quick in demonstrating words through constant praise of God, like the mind of Kurosomi, the Japanese, went through a hospital of plague-infested patients and said, in the name of Jesus Christ, be ye healed. And many of them arose at once. Then she would say that if God pleased to afflict her with smallpox and otherwise torment her, as he did his dear son Jesus Christ, she at that moment was ready to receive the calamities. She put up such an expectant mind that she drew those very things to herself. Why would you do that? Why? Her words were quick and powerful. By thy words thou art justified, and by thy words thou art condemned. For what the heart feels and believes, the words are sure to speak forth. Words are mighty signals of the heart's beliefs. Even if you say the person is healed while your heart aches because they do not show forth health, you say they are healed because you believe they are if the science is true. So, even in this case, your belief is in your words. And if you say they are not healed, you speak from what you feel most strongly at the moment. Words are flags. Jesus did not believe in having even our most vigorous belief in evil come forth expressed before the world. He said what to us means. Suppose you had said some violent words, expressions of your strong emotions like, "What a fool I am," or "I am terribly abused and an unfortunate person." And it actually appears today as if you had made some bitter mistakes or were going to ruin. I say unto you, you may blast such words as Jesus blasted the vigorous fig tree, and never see any fruit of mistakes that bring hurts or misfortunes. Right here, let me tell you that if you are going to remember in your mind how sick your patient looks, you must turn that memory right out of doors. Look at a picture of some beautiful character or speak some lofty principle over and over, for the memory of how your patient seems while sick will bring out that sickness plainly expressed. If you are given to imagine how something would seem if it came to hurt you, get right away from the imagination at once, for an imagination is determined to come out some way. If you have taken some good premise in mind late in life, as we hear it expressed, you have struck a hard blow to the fears and imaginations you formerly held. Possibly they may come out in your dreams. Be thankful they get no further than your sleeping time in their exposure, for they were making ready to come out before all humankind in your affairs. All evil is blamed on sin, but sin is only a mistaken idea of life, a mistaken idea of who you are and what world you live in. This is all the sin you or anybody ever committed. You made your mistake in mind and have lived out that mistake. This truth erases that mistake. Then your life is free from the cause of its suffering and trouble. You may often wonder why the truth student who claims to believe the doctrine of no sin, no sickness, no death, does not immediately show peaceful, satisfied conditions. Suppose the rain and dust have beaten against the plate glass windows until they are very dirty. Do you think the mere cessation of the rain and dust will make the window panes clean? So it is with the mind that is covered with years of habitual imaginations. It ceases from imagination, but practical daily washings of the years of dust must be made. This does not make the sin of imagination, the mistakes about life, a reality, but explains how real it seems to us. The ninth stone is topaz, which stands for harmony between thoughts and externals. The world in which we live is the exact record of our thoughts. Ooh. And if that does not rock you back on your heels, you are not paying attention. Let me say that again. The world in which we live is an exact record of our thoughts. If we do not like the world we live in, then we do not like our thoughts. This is discord. There are thoughts which we can love greatly while we think them. They make conditions which we love. This is harmony. They who love their thoughts greatly and love their words greatly is sure to be a musician of some kind. There is much joy in their life. Let no one be surprised at their not being perfect in their science of music while they do not love their thoughts and enjoy the environments they have made. Within each of you is the song of spirit. By thinking out that song within your mind, it will break forth over your affairs. Some truth students sing their treatments. They sing their ideas. You can sing mentally until a joy of heart takes possession of you. This joy will come to pass in happy surroundings sooner or later. Some of us fret because it takes so long to bring out thoughts of good into our environment. This is discord. If we are given to discord, let us often say, I give thanks and glad praise that God hath given to the Holy Spirit all the joy and song of the universe. And she does not have to pray for it, beg for it, work for it, nor struggle for it. She is joyous and sings because she is joy. I am glad that the Holy Spirit is joy and harmony. You will uncover your spring of joy that lies within you, and soon you will sing and be joyous without trying to do so. It is noticeable in almost all religious people that their first idea of goodness is to make life in some way harder for themselves and each other. They drive themselves to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning with their families and to go without sleep until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, each morning, saying that as spirit needs no rest and is strong enough to do all things, they are as able as spirit to do that which is most harrowing to the whole family without murmuring. This may be what you will be tempted to agree to on one subject or another. It is forgetfulness of the way of Jesus, who slept and ate and drank and clothed himself exactly as other people, and only did differently when it pleased himself to do so, never even asking his disciples to share in any of his self-elected hardships. The yoke of Jesus upon you is easy. God is rest. The violets do not strain and struggle to be in harmony with their life. The mountains do not groan and labor to be great. The hurricane and the simoon of the desert do their mighty tasks easily. It is not being an hang on. I'm not sure about the sentence. Okay, I'm going to take a drink and then try that sentence again because it was going somewhere weird. All right, let's try that again. It is not being in adjustment with the divine mind to be thinking hard lines to travel on. Because we are spirit, we do that which our own judgment prompts us to do and lay no burdens on each other because of our ideas. If it is hard for you to cure your case, you have made the mistake somewhere of believing in hardships for somebody or for yourself. A mistaken idea about God and your own life will break out somewhere. Jesus Christ did not cast himself off a pinnacle to show how mentally powerful he was. He moved at the direction of spirit along lines not laid down by men or historic precedents. If you watch very carefully, you will see there is not an item of your life in which you are not guided by spirit into ways of pleasantness and peace. Any other way is one you have chosen, independent of Jesus Christ's principles, and it is the sin of your life that is the mistake upon which you move about. The ninth stone is topaz, harmony and peace and delight in the pathway we are walking. There's one treatment which results in efficiency to manage environment easily. It is this. I do not accuse the world or myself of sin. All is well. You have no idea how much of the inefficiency of humanity comes from thinking about the wrongdoings of others and of ourselves. There is nothing more miserable than to feel that by some mistake in life you have not amounted to what you might have, and that your misfortunes all hinge on that mistake. Now, while a mistake seems to be so much, Its right name is nothingness. God never made any mistakes in spirit. Your family never made any mistakes in spirit. None of you can possibly make any mistakes in spirit. As spirit is all that is real of you, the facing of the worst trouble of your life with the words that the mistakes that brought them being nothing, the troubles are nothing, will have a marvelous effect in putting them in a new relation with you. I do not mean that you will be hardened to bear them. I mean that they will be gone. The day of the Lord cometh as a thief in the night, silently. God, the truth, taketh away the grief and sickness as a mother comforteth. God is merciful. Be merciful with your people. The good acts only through mercy. Efficiency comes with letting the goodness of the merciful and tender Spirit speak instead of your condemning tendencies. Whatever evil seems so plain, it is a sign of being further on in truth when you can make sin as unreal in your mind as matter. If spirit is the only substance, matter is no substance. If holiness is the only presence, sin is not present. You will be sure to be faced up with your case uncured the third time, if in between seeing it the second and third times, you have harbored feelings of how wrongly people have acted. There are a few claims of wrongdoing or sin which always bring a case a third time. There is selfishness. We see that plainly in certain people, we say, but what right do we... Hang on. Let me back up and try this again. Okay. All right. I'm just going to back up a few more sentences. There are a few claims of wrongdoing or sin that always bring a case in the third time. There is selfishness. We see that plainly in certain people, we say. By what right do we see selfishness? By right of the spirit or of the carnal? We speak of enviousness. Who has envy? The spirit? If the spirit has not envy, of whom are we talking when we speak of enviousness in others or ourselves? Of nobody. Most certainly, for spirit is all. Then there is no jealousy. Have we accused ourselves of jealousy? We are the Holy Spirit. Do you wonder that accusations bring great infirmity to represent it? If we call anybody malicious, revengeful, or cruel, we have spoken of life, mind, and spirit. That fairly ties our own thoughts in chains so that they do not heal well, manage environments well, or do anything in the way of skillfulness that we so much wish they would. If sin seemed so real to you, If sin seems so real to you, take every Wednesday afternoon and deny the reality of every sin you have ever heard of. Thus will your spirit stand out in its uncondemned holiness, and, unchained, will do great works for you. Plato taught that the whole world is a colossal system of shadows. The deepest shade is the belief in wrongdoing. Its shadows throw long stretches of desert and forest over your pathways, which in truth is all light with the glory of goodness. It is said of elephants that they sometimes, in eastern countries, fight shadows on rocks, and beat themselves to pieces. Thus, our missionaries and philanthropists, fighting the huge shadows of belief of somebody doing great wrongs in the universe, lie down with the feelings of how gigantic the monsters are who have the poor world in their jaws. Learn that there is a divine harmony between the mind from whence the true world is springing and your mind. Learn that there is a divine harmony between the mind from which the true world is springing and your mind. Okay. Such a harmony that you yourself are that mighty and good mind. Isaiah pictures that peaceable kingdom where the wolf and the lamb and the calf and the young lion shall lie down together, and the child shall play with the serpent, and the sting of all that seems to be hurtful shall be removed. Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world. The Lamb is meekness, and the Lamb is not suspicious. The Lamb trusts to your goodness. The Lamb of God is Jesus Christ, who condemned none, forgave all, suspected none, believed in no evil, feared nothing, loved everything. Therefore he healed instantaneously. Therefore he said, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. If you feel all the time as though you ought to be protecting yourself from humanity, either financially or as to reputation, stop and think over these Wednesday afternoon words. You must not put up umbrellas against things which do not exist. Umbrellas are a burden in pleasant weather. By this I mean, if God is your world, what have you to fear? So your fears are a burden. Belief that I have made a mistake terrifies me. Belief that you have made a mistake terrifies you. And so with all the world. If now we are told so strongly that it takes effect in our blood and our bones, and if we are convinced that it is true that we never could make any mistakes, then our fear is gone. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. I will fear no evil, for thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Rod means activity, and staff means rest of mind. We act wisely and rest comfortably, therefore we are comforted. Deny the inheritance of sin. The Son shall not bear the iniquity of the Father, saith the Lord. Deny the race iniquities. For am I not God? Do I not fill heaven and earth? Deny contagion of sin. Fear nothing from suggestion of evil. There shall no evil touch thee. Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue. Deny the personal sin. Neither hath this person sinned nor their parents. Deny that you ever wronged anyone, for in you is God only. Socrates, on being asked what is the most troublesome to good people, answered, the prosperity of the wicked. People who have made certain mistakes do not touch their finances or environment with those mistakes. They touch only their bodies. Some people's mistakes touch their environments entirely, while their bodies are very well indeed. There has been no statement of cause and effect yet given forth which has been entirely accurate in describing how a selfish disposition or an envious one should affect the business of a person or the health of a person. Injustice in money matters does not always bring financial disaster to the actor. It may break out in their children instead of themselves. Each one of us has all they can do to look on the ways of their own heart and make their harmony between their own heart thoughts and their world by thinking as their heart is really thinking in its spiritual center, instead of from the mistakes of their thoughts about life and God, which are not their heart, but their imagination. That was a very long sentence. What? Let us imagine nothing. Let us speak truth. Sometimes people feel that all the talk about even the presence and character of God as good, as life, as truth, love, omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience is pure imagination, because nobody has seen or heard or felt such a being or such a principle. They resolve everything into imagination. Well, if imagination can take its choice between imagining life, holy and omnipresent, or death, evil and pain, and can bring into outer manifestation according to its ideas so imagined, we will see that it is higher and nobler imagination to conceive of omnipotent good than to conceive of evil. Humanity naturally thinks there is a God. You think so. Every book that you picked up said there is no, wait, hang on. I left out a word there. Let's just start over. Humanity naturally thinks there is a God. Okay. Time for a drink. Okay. Let's try that again. Humanity naturally thinks there is a God. You think so. If every book that you picked up said there is no God, you would dispute it. It is not in anyone to dispute, however, if we point out the truth that there is no such God as some have imagined. One sending afflictions and pain upon the good and innocent of the world. We are ready to give up such an imagination. Okay, we are ready to give up such an imagination at once when the reasonable idea is presented that Almighty goodness did not create a Satan, nor create passions and appetites and deceptions. God only made the good and the holy. The bad and the wicked are not made. They only seem to be made. They are shadows of the substance of the good. A good trait in you, like generosity, is seen to throw down a dark opposite to itself. You show jealousy. There was hardly ever a generous person without the opposite trait called jealousy throwing its dark streak. Jealousy is the long headlight of generosity. The jealousy is nothing. It is not there. The generosity is something. It is God's presence. So, of all that is not desirable, the pure goodness being called substance and the bad called shadow, the goodness comes into plainer sight and the badness disappears altogether. Moses took a figure of speech to illustrate principles. Paul told his friends to take a little wine instead of so much water. He means to take strong statements, go forth in thought instead of thinking the old religious ideas. Each mind naturally clings to its former idea of good. Its former ideas of God. In spite of their high reasonings, often you will find some truth students falling into begging a great being on a throne in the air to help them, even after they know that there is no such God, but that instead there is an almighty principle of truth and goodness. Paul's young friend Timothy was inclined to think sometimes in the old ways. It was a weak way to think. Take some wine of doctrine, stronger and warmer ideas of life. Moses, in this 9th lesson, says, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life." Waters meant thoughts. The living creatures of the thoughts are the environments alive, the people, the friendships, the society, the children. Let your flowing thoughts, warmed at the fountain of pure reason, be rich in affection, love, life, joy, harmony. Swedenborg said that Moses meant affection by living creatures. The 8th lesson was about having light. The true religion is the true light. Light is warmth. The brighter the sun, the hotter it shines. The hotter the sun, the surer the rivers are to bring forth living creatures in abundance. So the hotter your religion, the warmer your love for the world, for God, for truth, the warmer your love, the more friends and pleasures and conditions of joy surround you. This is confidence in your doctrine. It might be called self-confidence. People who lack self-confidence are those who have not warmed into confidence in their doctrine. They are given to accusation of sin, but they are as often to accuse themselves of sin as their neighbors. Nothing alive and solid with success ever stays in the hands of people who are given to accusing others or themselves of sin. By this I mean prosperity will always seem just ahead of you if you think of people or yourself as selfish, envious, jealous, revengeful, or cruel. Which sounds like, you know what, when you think of people, think of them kindly. Because otherwise you're bringing your own troubles down on your own head. Okay, let me go back and read that sentence, because you know what? By this I mean prosperity will always seem just ahead of you if you think of people or yourself as selfish, envious, jealous, revengeful, or cruel. Your health will always seem just out of your reach. Your healing power will always be slipping through your fingers. Just as you think your case is cured, it is not cured. Every time it can be traced to your accusing of sin. Stop that. And your waters of mind will gather prosperity so tangibly that you cannot mistake judgments. Your waters of mind will breed a new healing power, new affairs, new schemes in some line will please and satisfy you. If anyone tells you of there being a principle of evil, deny it. If anyone tells you of there being a Satan, deny it. If anybody tells you of there being a fall of humanity from their God estate, deny it. If you read of sin, deny it. You must not have a poor opinion of yourself. Your substance, your intelligence, your nature is God. If the spirit of you arises in its strength, you will have great confidence in your own mission, your own work, your own powers. General Taylor, during the Mexican War, called a council of Mexicans. They told him that in numbers and artillery, his enemies were so far ahead that he stood no chance of victory. We will dismiss this council until after the battle, he said. His confidence in his principle of action was so aroused that he brought forth substantial victory. Your principle of life is worth believing in with all your soul, or it is not worth believing in at all. Let me read that one again. Your principle of life is worth believing in with all your soul, or it is not worth believing in at all. Come, make up your mind decidedly. Do you believe there is any sin in the whole universe? If you do, but wish you did not, then you have light on your waters, but not heat enough to create good, tangible success. People who ignore the sins of their neighbors are the most beloved, and they love most. They are our best healers. People who believe in their own doctrine with all their might and main succeeded every time. Make up your mind about this sin question, and you will settle the ninth point in truth. You will polish the topaz stone of harmony with your life. Discord and strife will succeed. New creations will spring forth as the result of your new thoughts. Klopstock, the German poet who wrote Creation, was waited upon in Hamburg by some students who walked all the way from Göttingen to ask him what he meant by a certain passage in his composition. I do not just now recall what I meant, gentlemen, he said, but it would pay you to spend your lifetime trying to find out what I meant. He had such implicit confidence in the accuracy of the genius that inspired him that he saw it must have burned with a glory out of the reach of his ordinary mind to have spoken beyond what, in calm moments, he could comprehend. Rogers, the poet, always read his own compositions. He believed in his own genius. He was greatly honored. Wordsworth always wanted to have his own writings read to him, for he trusted and loved his own genius. He was greatly honored. Michelangelo, Dickens, Pericles, all believed in their own inspiration. If I said it, it is so, and if it is so, I said it, said one who never opened his lips carelessly, never exaggerated, and never misrepresented, wrote what he meant about God, human reason, and Satan, and so that even his contemporaries listened to him. Hannibal swore eternal hate to Rome, and he believed so implicitly in the genius of his oath that when the Romans wanted to scare their children, they cried, "Hannibal is at the gates." On every plan of your campaign, believe in your principles, whatever they are. Hannibal's principles Hannibal's principle was destruction of the Romans. Poetry records of him that the pages of his history with tears of blood are wet. It shows how confidence in the principle with which you work will work out in your life. Moses called works of religious confidence living creatures of good things that make glad. No crying, no killing, no sickness or death in them. Religious teachings at their best have no pain in them. They have living good. So when you once wake up to conscious confidence in your religion, you bring forth works with great prosperity for yourself and for everyone. Jesus Christ taught the making of gold by this law, stopping the conscious waters of the mind with hot words full of substance. He taught the making of bread by the conscious confidence of the mind in the spirit that flows through it. You must believe that God works through you to will and to do some particular mission. Have confidence that if one person does to you what seems to be wrong, your genius, your spirit, your God is that moment working good for you. That person is the instrument. This is your religion, taken exactly word for word from Jesus Christ. For if you love them that love you, what reward have you? Love them that hate you, and do good to them that despitefully use you. God is then working the reward in the new delight right at hand. Despise not the creatures of the sea. The rivers of the mind flowing with true rewards are legal creations. You have a right to rewards, said Jesus. They are the product of confidence in your religion, says Truth. Certain ideas produce certain religion. Certain ideas produce certain conditions. If you believe that something evil is going to happen to you because you once committed an injustice against somebody, which you do not forgive yourself for, and you have not confidence in the Spirit of God as having made that wrong nothingness, your confidence will bring it forth, especially if you feel keenly about the matter. You won't like it, but you believe that way. Of course, you know that fear is a thing of confidence enough in it to bring it to pass. Job said, "The thing that I feared hath come upon me." It is a singular fact that people who lament over any... It is a singular fact that people who lament much over anything always have liver complaint. Jeremiah wrote, "Mine eyes do fail with tears, my bowels are troubled, my liver is poured out upon the earth." You see, he speaks of 3 maladies from Lamentations, viz., poor eyesight, bowel trouble, and liver complaint. This may often be a hint to you in denying the cause of these 3 sicknesses. But back of the lamenting, there must have been something believed worth lamenting about, and that is always some wrong done by somebody. That wrong never took place in God's kingdom. So there was nothing to lament about, and spirit never laments. Therefore, there is no disease. This reasoning, put mentally to your patient, is the flowing river of truth through their dry lands. It will wash away the history of their disease. It will bring out living health in their organs. In the scriptures, you can find many instances of reasoning like that of Jeremiah. The early practitioners of healing always got a history of the case of their patients. Then they negated it by saying, "You have no cause to mourn. Having no cause to mourn, you never could mourn. Therefore, you have no failing eyesight. Therefore, there is nothing transpired to affect your eyes. You see with spiritual vision, which no mortal condition can interfere with." If now you remember somebody with failing eyesight, stop and repeat this treatment. Okay. For these 3 maladies, so-called, we use a scientific argument for the whole race. Take yesterday's treatment, nullifying hypocrisy, deception, lies, psychological influences, and give it to the whole world. And when your patient arrives for the second time, you will not have to treat them against deception and its effect. Something will come very strongly to you, and as you are bringing out your healing river by a scientific process, you can explain how others can heal as well as yourself. Tell that the whole world is absolutely well. The inhabitants shall not say, "I am sick," anymore. The reason so much is said about bodily cure and not about moral reformation and prosperity is because if the body is well, the person can catch the tones of truth on larger and more intricate problems of life. Honestly, right there, it seems like she's hinting at Maslow's ladder, which Maslow's ladder is a psychological idea that if you take care of the bodily needs, then the person can turn to the moral and spiritual needs. So if everybody is fed, sheltered, and housed, sheltered and housed is the same thing. If everybody is, if they have their bodily needs taken care of, then they can turn to other pursuits. Yet when they are struggling with housing and feeding themselves, then they don't have time for those higher truths. So, like, if you want everybody to pursue the higher truths, you got to make sure everybody's fed and housed. Safe. I think that was the other one. That you got to make sure that they're fed, sheltered, and safe. And when everybody is fed, sheltered, and safe, then the whole world can turn away from sin and start contemplating those higher truths. Okay. Back to Emma. Like I said, she right there, she was just like, she's talking about Maslow's ladder. Bodily healing often depends upon moral rectitude. It often depends upon prosperity. So you must focus your mind to the word health for the world, expecting to touch each separate need of a person the moment you look at them. It is a great principle to understand that if you know the law of good, how it works when truth is told, that health and intelligence will spring from the face and through the bodily frame of whomsoever you speak to, whether mentally or audibly. The moment you see that good is really working through you, everything looks different to you from what it did before. The person's voice does not seem so rough as it did before. The child's cough seems free. It acts as if it were passing away, soon to be forgotten. You have no idea how soon you forget evil when you have a sight of the good. Hello, baby. You coming up? The sight of the good acting with you makes you love it. Then you have confidence in it. Then you do good work. This is formulating truth. When you see someone who seems to be selfish, what will you say? You will say spirit never formulates in selfishness. Or you will say truth never expresses in selfishness. And you will be sure to say, I do not accuse myself or my world of selfishness. Why do you say, I do not accuse myself of selfishness? Because every person you see is an expression of your own traits of character. Giovanni just came in and is rolling over and purring. It's very distracting. Okay, let's just start that paragraph over. Why do you say I do not accuse myself of selfishness? Because every person you see is the expression of your own traits of character. When they are set right, you are set right. The business person you know, it best represents your business matters. Get them prosperous and satisfied, and you will be prosperous and satisfied. The musician you know best expresses one of your ideas on some subject. Get that idea right, and they will be a fine musician. The singer whose voice you do not enjoy is one of your own thoughts out of chord with God. Tell them mentally that they are the voice of Holy Spirit to you, and that you will not feel their imperfection. They will be gone from your ears, and their mission to you will be plain. You will feel a love, a warmth towards spirit that will soon bring the good news about something different from singing. A woman eating her dinner and a telegram about the death of her son came. No, a woman was eating her dinner and a telegram about the death of her son came to her. A hardness with which she received the news hardened the food in her stomach, and for years afterwards she had dyspepsia. A healer told her that spirit never received bad news, never was shocked, was always free and strong. She was cured of indigestion that day. So, this doctrine, always telling of God and life and health and prosperity, does not seem to be a tangible machine like a grist mill or factory, yet it grinds out the desires of the heart in happy, satisfying conditions by its own mysterious lowliness and power. We have new circumstances by its mystic fingers. It loves to feel you in harmony with it, for then it works freely through you to will and to do. All the time it is in your own mind speaking that which you call spirit. Let this be clear to you. There is a spirit in humanity, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. It is your own breath of omnipotence when you think forth great thoughts of God. It is your own inbreathing of omnipotence when you are pleased with something in your life. That pleasure came to pass because from the depths of your spirit along the way somewhere you spoke the truth or thought truth. People think more truly than you give them credit for. The grumbler has some great truth which they speak or think often. It makes them successful. They have many happy moments. The rest is shadow, vanity, and absence. The evil is nothingness. They would change their habits entirely if you would think the truth toward them, that they are searching so restlessly for the good. The thief would drop everything and praise and bless Jesus if you would breathe towards them the thoughts their mind is restlessly searching for. The sick person would be well at once if you would breathe towards them the thoughts their heart has fainted for lack of. Who shall save us from our sin, save they that seeth no sin in us? If we punish sin by any other method than denying its reality, we make it more manifest than ever. So, the Jesus Christ method of a blameless life, free from condemnation, peaceable, forgiving, mild, gentle, unpretentious, all the time shedding a fine radiance of inner light abroad, is the only way of setting free from sin. If you have a steady habit of thinking high thoughts, your presence will be helpful to people. It is said of Socrates, you remember, that his presence, even without speaking, would regulate a person's judgment. If you have a strict moral rectitude, you can balance a person's health without treating them. You can clarify a person's ideas without speaking to them. Often, you will have an entirely different effect upon people from what your treatments read. For instance, you might treat one for deafness and turn their thoughts into new channels, yet not touch their deafness. This shows that your mind works that way. You must be pleased with whatever way your mind works. Pleasure and even a remote good will bring other good into your manner of action. I have a question mark by that. But I think I'm far enough along to understand whatever good you see, praise it. Emma's rather famous for saying, look for the good and praise it. So even if it's not the good you specifically were looking for, praise the good anyway, because more good will follow that. So don't get caught up if you don't get exactly what you asked for. If you're getting good, praise the good, and more will follow. Okay, and since I'm chatting, and we're getting towards the end of you can always tell we're getting towards the end because I start drinking more water. And we're within a couple of pages of being done. I have been speaking to you about a supposed case of disease. You know very well that there never was any disease. Why then do I speak of one and tell you to take a case of some kind to cure? Because we all take the appearances of one lot and tell the truth. We look at the child's arithmetical problem and say no where it is not true. We say yes to what is true. So we meet the children who are working out their life problems. We know wherein it is not the truth they speak by the sight they show. We know wherein we have not spoken the truth by the life we lead. If I am in bondage, I have had some extreme error about God and its relationship to my life. The truth tells me how to erase that error. Jesus Christ erased errors very rapidly. You and I will erase errors rapidly or slowly according to our nature. If we stumble at the calling of sin, nothingness, unreality, absence in the sea of omnipresence, we shall be slow in demonstration. We shall not be joyous. Our singing will be poor. We cannot be like God until we speak and think of sin as God does. Which I would argue, and hopefully she'll get there in a minute, God doesn't speak and think of sin. But, let's see. We cannot be like God until we speak and think of sin as God does. You do not believe that God looks at sin. You know that God's eyes are too pure to behold iniquity. You believe that God sees everything. Then God would see sin if there was any to see. What is this that looks like a person striking a child? In truth, there is no such action taking place. What was that when a person shot his child? In truth, he never did. It is all a figment of the imagination. You have dreamed the stories. Awake, thou that sleepeth, shouted Paul. There is a spirit in those you have spoken of that knows nothing of those actions which you name. Look towards spirit. Fix your eyes there. Hear now the direction of the Almighty as to what you are to do while you are looking towards that spirit. Their sin I will remember no more against them forever. You need not harbor the memory of sin if God does not. It also doesn't mean you have to put yourself back into the hands of somebody that's hurt you, just so you know. Okay? You can forget the sin, you can forgive the sin, and you do not have to put yourself back in their presence. Just a caution. Especially since her next sentence is a woman, so, let's see where she's going with this. A woman was greatly persecuted, as it seemed to her, by people who wished to get her position from her. Suddenly, while she was riding in a streetcar amidst the smoke and noise of the city where she lived, she said, how would God regard persecutions? Would he cry and mourn about them or ignore them? He certainly would not know anything about them. Neither will I. This treatment took away all her grief and fear. It is not to you a great rest that your true and real substance No, let me try that again. Is it not to you a great rest that your true and real substance does not know anything about sin, sickness, or death? When you are tempted to mix up with misery by feeling miserable, remember your noble spirit, which knows no sorrow, no pains, no sickness, no unkindness, no burden. It is not a joy to you that you have the power right within yourself to annul every evil thing. Nope. Again, is it not a joy to you that you have the power right within you to annul every evil thing? If there is no reality in sin, rise to agree with the principle and love it. There have, as yet, been only a few to whom sin is as unreal as matter. They have had great power in healing where matter was the first unreality to them. Stopping at either of these milestones, you do not harmonize with the world around you. Stopping past them by the leading of the Spirit, you harmonize your life. You will notice the topaz stone when you see it has a happy light. It is the peaceful light of satisfaction with your thoughts as they fold themselves around you in good friendships, good healing power, and reformed conduct of humanity. I use the word reformed in the same sense that I use healing. God needs no healing. Therefore, there is no healing to be done. God needs no reforming. Therefore, there is no reforming to be done. What then? We tell the truth. And as the whole and perfect person steps forth, they look at the sense plane as if they were being healed. We tell the truth, and on the sense plane, it looks as if the upright child of God were reforming their actions. I know, and you know, that there is no work to be done. Does God work? Is not all finished in God? Yes. This very saying that there is no work to be done gives us the appearance of accomplishing miracles, because as the signs of the heavenly estates appear, they push the earthly estates aside. The rolling of the earthly conditions away looks like activity. It is really the rest of God. Have you ever watched a star come into sight on a summer evening? It was there all the time, in solemn repose. But as the night deepens, the star seems to shoot towards you. At first, it is startling. Thus, with the last of the earth, With the last day of earth, the heavenly land swiftly speeds into our sight. The earth rolls aside her curtains. The topaz light of your thoughts, bringing out your words swiftly, is the leaping up of the heart into the mouth with joyous song. The joyous heart is a healing presence. Do you remember how Solomon said, "The merry heart doth good like a medicine"? Smile and sing ye songs, seek ye the songs of Zion. Sing the thoughts of this truth you bring out. The Spirit can heal the whole world if it never yields to lamentations. Will you now take the case you remembered yesterday and call their name? Bow your head and let the Spirit say within you, I have never accused the world or myself of sin. All is good. Now to the patient, your friend, speak as I am addressing my friend. You are not covered with the formulations of sin, therefore you are not diseased. You have not received an inheritance of sin in disease. You came forth from God. You are not surrounded by a race of sin. You are surrounded by God. You do not hear sin, see sin, feel sin, fear sin from anywhere. Therefore, you are free in purity. There is no gathering of the consequences of sin around the Spirit. Therefore, you are free from the consequences of sin. You have not gathered your own sins together in disease. You are free from disease. There is no cause for disease in spirit. I do not lay any burden of belief in my own sinfulness upon you. The sins of carnal mind I do not believe in. I do not believe in selfishness. I do not believe in envy. I do not believe in jealousy. I do not believe in revenge. I do not believe in cruelty. I do not believe in the outshowing of these claims against humanity. I believe humanity is God, and God is humanity, without sin, sickness, death, or disease. Therefore, your life is good and cannot be threatened with death, nor yield to death, nor fear death in any part of your being. Your health is God and cannot be threatened with disease, nor fear disease, nor yield to disease in any part of you. Your strength is good. It cannot be threatened with weakness, nor fear weakness, nor yield to weakness in any part of you. You are ready to acknowledge that you are healed. You say this freely to all, to yourself, to me now. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, I pronounce you every whit whole. Give this treatment 3 times before you sleep tonight. While you give it, write it out as nearly as you can. Sing it to yourself. Have confidence in it. This is what Moses meant by, let the waters bring forth living creatures. And that is righteous judgment. And ironically, she never talked about righteous judgment, did she? She never actually said the words righteous judgment. But she said a lot of other things. A whole lot of other things. I do not accuse the world or myself of sin. Well, that's Emma. And that was chapter 8 of Scientific Christian Mental Practice, Righteous Judgment. And now I'm going to go drink a whole lot of water and get this uploaded to the YouTube to be available to anybody who needs it and wants it. And I'll be back next Saturday to do chapter 10. But before that, we have a week of New Design of Living, so I will see you tomorrow morning around 8:45 to do